What if I told you that thousands of drivers over 70 in the UK could lose their license in 2026, and most of them won't even see it coming? Not because they did anything wrong, not because they're unsafe, but because of a set of rules quietly tightening around them, rules that barely anyone is talking about. This is not just another list video. This is something that could directly affect you, or someone you love. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what to watch for. Right now, something is shifting in how older drivers are assessed in this country, and almost no one is paying attention. Stay with me, because number 4 on this list is the one that catches almost everyone off guard. Before we go further, if you're new here, welcome. This channel exists to break down confusing rules and hidden changes in plain, simple language, so you're never caught off guard when it matters most. So let's start with what's actually happening. Every driver in the UK, once they turn 70, has to renew their license, and then again every 3 years after that. Most people know this part already. But what most people don't fully understand is how much stricter and more detailed that renewal process is becoming, and how many small details can now affect whether that renewal goes through smoothly or turns into a much longer, much more stressful process. Stay with me, because this next part changes everything. The first thing to understand is the self-declaration form itself. When you renew your license at 70, you're asked a series of health-related questions, and you're expected to answer them honestly. But here's what most people don't realize. This isn't just a formality anymore. Answers are being cross-checked more carefully than ever before, particularly around eyesight, memory, and any medical conditions that could affect reaction time or awareness behind the wheel. And this is what most people are not being told. If you tick a box incorrectly, even by mistake, even without meaning to hide anything, it can trigger a much longer review process. Some people have waited months for their license to be renewed simply because a single answer needed further medical evidence. Months, without being able to drive in the meantime, in some cases. That's the first thing that catches people off guard, and it's only the beginning. The second point that's becoming more strictly enforced is the eyesight standard. It's not new that you need to meet a certain visual standard to drive. But what is changing is how seriously that standard is being checked and reinforced. The rule is simple on paper. You must be able to read a number plate from 20 meters away, with glasses or contact lenses if you wear them. But here's where things start to get serious. Many people over 70 haven't had a proper eye test in years, assuming their vision is still fine simply because they've never had an accident. And that assumption alone is becoming a real risk, because if your eyesight doesn't meet that standard and you're still driving, you could be invalidating your insurance completely, without ever realizing it, long before anything even happens on the road. But wait, it gets even more surprising. The third area, drawing much more attention, is medical conditions that develop gradually, the kind that creep up slowly rather than appearing suddenly. Conditions like early memory difficulties, mild cognitive changes, or certain heart and neurological conditions. The tricky part is that many of these conditions don't feel dramatic day to day. Family members might notice small changes before the individual does. But if a condition like this develops and isn't declared, and something happens on the road, the consequences can be far more serious than most people expect, both legally and in terms of insurance. Now, this could affect your future in ways you didn't expect, because it's not only about the individual driver, it's about family members too. Adult children are increasingly being expected to gently raise these conversations with parents. And that in itself is an emotional, delicate thing to navigate. Nobody wants to tell a parent they're worried about their driving. But avoiding that conversation doesn't make the underlying risk disappear. And just when people think they understand this, they miss one key detail. This is number 4, and it's the one that surprises almost everyone, even people who think they've done everything correctly. It's not about eyesight. It's not about a form. It's about assumption itself. Most over 70 drivers assume that because they passed their last renewal, they are automatically fine for the next 3 years, no matter what changes in between. But that is not how the responsibility actually works. The moment your health changes at any point during those 3 years, even slightly, even something that doesn't feel urgent, the responsibility to inform the licensing authority falls on you immediately. Not at the next renewal, immediately. Think about that for a second. A license renewed at 70 doesn't mean protected until 73, no matter what happens. If a health condition changes in year 1 and it isn't reported, and something happens in year 2, that gap between when it changed and when it should have been reported becomes the exact thing that gets questioned afterward. It's the single most missed detail on this entire list because it feels counterintuitive. People assume renewal equals safety for the full 3 years. It doesn't. And this quietly connects to something else that surprises people. Many drivers don't realize that certain medications, particularly ones that cause drowsiness or affect concentration, are meant to be considered under the same reporting responsibility if they affect your ability to drive safely. It's not about the diagnosis. It's about whether the medication changes how safely you can be behind the wheel. And this is exactly the kind of detail that quietly slips through, because it doesn't feel like it belongs in the same category as a major medical condition, even though officially it does. So here's the 5th point, and it ties everything else together. Insurance providers are increasingly reviewing driver history much more closely for older policyholders, particularly around renewal timing and any gaps in reported information. If your license lapses even briefly during the renewal process, or if a health change wasn't reported in time, that gap can be used against you the moment you need to make a claim. Not before. Only when it actually matters. So now let's talk about how this actually works, and more importantly, what you or someone you love should actually do. The first thing is simple, but powerful. Don't wait for the renewal reminder to think about any of this. Treat your 70th birthday, and every year after, as a moment to genuinely reflect, has anything changed with your health, your eyesight, your medication, even slightly, since the last time you renewed? The second thing is to book a proper eye test regularly, not just when you feel like something might be wrong. Vision changes gradually, so gradually that most people don't notice it happening until someone else points it out. A simple, routine test removes that uncertainty completely. The third thing, and this is the part almost nobody does, is to actually read through the self-declaration questions carefully before you fill them in, rather than rushing through them as a formality. Take your time. If something feels uncertain, speak to your doctor first, rather than guessing. And the fourth thing, the one connected directly to that overlooked point, number 4, is this. If anything changes with your health during those 3 years between renewals, don't wait. Report it as soon as it happens, not at the next renewal date. That single habit alone protects you more than almost anything else on this list. Here's something reassuring though, because this video isn't meant to frighten you, it's meant to prepare you. None of this means older drivers are unsafe. In fact, many older drivers are some of the most careful, most experienced people on the road. This isn't about losing your license, it's about protecting the one you already have, by staying just slightly ahead of the small details that quietly catch people out. Because that's the real fear here, isn't it? It's not the process itself. It's the thought of losing that independence unexpectedly, over something small, something that could have easily been avoided if only someone had explained it clearly beforehand. If you've made it this far, now you understand what most people still don't. This isn't just information, it's something that can truly protect your independence and your peace of mind. Stay aware, stay prepared, and don't miss what comes next. Subscribe, and stay one step ahead.